Well, last week, James Kilroy was found guilty of the murder of his 41-year-old wife, Valerie French, in their home in Mayo in June 2019. He was sentenced to life imprisonment. Valerie, an occupational therapist and a mother to 3 really young sons at the time of her death, was beaten, stabbed and strangled to death. In his incredibly powerful victim impact statement in court last week, her only brother, David, said that the life of his wonderful sister was ended in the cruelest, most violent and terrifying way possible, with her broken body now lying in a grave in West Cork. According to her murderer husband, Valerie's last words were, "What about the boys?" Well, David and his 3 surviving sisters are now all campaigning for a change in the law so that people like James Kilroy who kill their partners are prevented from having guardianship or any parental rights to their children. And I'm joined now by David. Thanks so much for coming in, David.
No problem, thanks.
First of all, tell me about your sister Valerie. What was she like?
She was wonderful. I mean, very, very capable. She was absolutely great fun. She was a fantastic person to be around. She lifted everyone's spirits, both at work as an occupational therapist and like in her personal life. So she was a perfect fit for that kind of role. Very empathetic, but very, very capable as well. Just very capable of doing a lot of stuff. Loved being a mother. Went through a lot of effort to be a mother. All the IVF and all that kind of expense and hassle, but absolutely loved being a mother. She loved being their mother in particular. She always said that. It's not, I'm a mother, but I'm your mother and I love being your mother. That was the kind of message and the very loving message she gave to them all the time. So yeah, she'd studied in Cardiff, worked in Liverpool. She came back when Dad died. She came back to my mum in 2002, and then she worked in Kerry up to Dublin, and then most recently in Mayo and Castlebar.
Do you mind me bringing back to that time? When did you find out your sister had died, and when did you realise he had murdered her?
It was basically late at night. I was reading bedtime stories to the children, and I got a phone call from one of my sisters saying the guards were at Mum's house. My other sister had been visiting Mum, and the guards were basically conveying the message that Valerie was dead. And you're like, well, so, and there was then a kind of gap because there was things they couldn't say. So it was more like, what are they not telling us? Mm-hmm. You know, like our first question is, well, where is he? Like, you know, what's going on? What was it? Was it a car crash? Whatever. Like, you don't jump to murder straight away. Mm-hmm. The guards are fantastic. They could only tell us a certain amount, and obviously these were the West Cork guards, not the ones in Castlebar. And yeah, that was just it all went off from there. Getting from Wicklow over to Castlebar, caring for Mum, thinking about the children, all of that. Going over to Castlebar Garda Station, identifying the body, seeing the murder charge, all the things that kind of follow on once that news happened. Obviously, once I landed in Castlebar, it was very clear immediately that he had been arrested and was undergoing questioning. And then a lot of suspense about whether, you know, this is all being explained. I don't know anything about this stuff, but the guard said, look, we have to wait for DPP instruction to charge him. So there was a lot of suspense, like, are they going to leave him out? What's going to happen next? Will DPP? So then with about half an hour to go, when they have to release him, I got the phone call, they're charging him. So then into court to see the murder charge being laid. The scary thing with that was it was Father's Day, and Valerie had wanted the family to be at home for Father's Day. She was over at my place for a kid's birthday party the previous weekend. She wanted her family together on Father's Day. On Father's Day, I'm watching him getting the murder charge, which was ridiculous.
What impact did Valerie's murder have on you as a family? I mean, your mum really never recovered, did she?
She didn't. I mean, it was basically a death sentence for Mum. I mean, it was that simple. It completely flattened her. She wasn't someone for big statements. She said, my life is ruined. She'd been living alone, you know, grand social life, and so on, driving her car, friends, doing fine in West Cork. Her father had died previously, 17 years previous to that, so she was living on her own. But there was no underlying health issues, and even when she died, there was an inquest afterwards because it was so sudden. So yeah, devastating. It was a death sentence.
Did the fact that he got a life sentence this week ease any of the pain for you and your 3 sisters?
It kind of makes no difference. The life sentence is, it's conviction for murder and the recognition in public that this is what happened. His compulsory free accommodation is kind of between him and the state. He's got to stay there. That's interesting. That doesn't sort out anything in terms of the children or property. It does keep him away from them, and it keeps the public safe because he's clearly a very, very dangerous person. And that it's good in that way, but it's not really, it doesn't change anything particularly for us.
Were there any warning signs? Did any of you spot anything in that relationship between her?
We've asked that question to ourselves so many times over 5 years. We'd kind of maybe got used to the fact that Valerie did everything. She was hyper capable. She did everything. Someone commented to her like it was like she had 4 kids to feed. She was the breadwinner for the house. She was doing things inside the house. She was doing stuff outside the house with her polytunnel and her gardening. Absolutely super capable. And then you're thinking back, well, what exactly was he doing? And now we know what he was doing, but there wasn't advanced signs of violence or the rest. We've looked at research and stuff, and you see that about 10% of cases, there isn't like a ramp up of physical violence ending in a massive assault. About 10%, it goes from 0 to 100, just like that.
Now, you and your sisters are campaigning to get a change in the law so that people who kill their spouses do not have any guardianship rights to their children.
Exactly. It's strange because, there's a law saying if you are a guardian of a child, or if you're, say, married to the mother, then you're the guardian. If you're married to the mother when the child is born, you're the guardian. And that continues on, regardless of what you do in your life. So if you do something like get convicted for murder, then you're still the guardian. It's like you still own a car, or you still have a house, or whatever. It doesn't actually affect anything. So it's not like a law that says he should have guardianship. It's just a lack of a law that would automatically take his guardianship away in this case. And, obviously it should be appealable, and it should happen at the point of conviction for murder. That's what would make sense. And everyone would assume that this is what happens. What's weird is there's so many things when you're inside the criminal justice system, people assume things work a certain way. And if you're in there for 5 years, going to 3 trials, I've spent over 60 days in court, but I've no qualification, obviously, you kind of start defending the system. And people say, oh, wouldn't it be great if he could take his guardianship off? It's like, no, he's innocent. Now he's convicted, we're in a different place. Now the law can step in on top of that conviction and say, right, now you've done something. There are consequences beyond spending your days in Castlereagh for a while. Now you're going to lose X, Y, Z. Most importantly, guardianship over children, because guardianship is basically, you know where they live, you're involved in all their major decisions, education, health, travel abroad, etc. Your consent is needed in lots of cases. And even just knowing where they live, their views need to be taken into account. You don't want a killer knowing where you live. That's a bad thing. If you're a kid, you're not sure, like, could he get out and kill me? Would his friends get out and kill me? What's going to happen? And there's other people who live in the house. Like, 3 children don't live in a house on their own. There's other people who don't want a killer having daily or monthly or even yearly reports on how things are going on. And what's really, there's so many ripple effects and things happen. People go, oh, TUSLA should sort that out. It's like, TUSLA have to work inside the law. TUSLA have to respect his guardianship status. I don't have guardianship status. I'm not asking for a guardianship status. It's nothing about me. But TUSLA have to absolutely respect James Kilroy's legal rights. And they don't have a freedom of movement here. So they're not the bad guys at all.
So that's why we need the change in the law. Finally, can I ask you, you made that incredible, powerful impact statement, and in it you said, any woman who's being controlled or abused should call the Gardaí when they still can. Is that your message tonight
100%.
to any woman?
Any woman who's feeling at risk or threatened, it doesn't have to be a violent relationship. It doesn't have to be a massively controlling relationship. If they have concerns, then they should get involved with the Gardaí. The Gardaí are very receptive. They've been fantastic. And they can filter and understand these. The Gardaí have a lot of training in this space. And, yep.
Well, David French, I'm so sorry what happened to your beautiful sister, Valerie, and thank you very much for taking the time to speak to us tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you, David.